What's up, Carptastic ladies and gentlemen? I am very happy to have you here with me today for another episode in this PTCGO series. Today it's time to have some fun with Thundurus-EX from the Roaring Skies expansion. As always, if you want to skip the deck analysis, just click the annotation on the top left of the screen or click the timestamp in the description and that shall take you straight to the battles. Thundurus-EX has 170 hit points, pretty standard for an EX, and has got 2 attacks, Headlock and Voltage Rush. Headlock does 30 base damage and does 30 more. If you flip heads on the coin flip, if you flip tails, you paralyze your opponent's active Pokemon. Would have been pretty nice to see this attack have a guaranteed paralysis effect, but I guess that might have been a little bit too OP, so that's maybe why they made it into a coin flip. Then the Voltage Rush does cost 3 lightning energies, which means you will need to attach a fair amount of energies here, 3 attachments. And it does 150 as the base, and then the Thundurus does 50 to itself. Unfortunately, that's pretty unfortunate. Brings the Thundurus down to 120 hit points and makes it pretty easy to knock out. So we will want to prevent this 50 damage to ourselves if we can. If you notice here, the 150 damage is pretty close to the hit points of most EXs, which is 170 or 180. So if somehow we could up the damage of the 150 of the Voltage Rush during our turn to 170 or 180, we would be able to one-hit KO EXs from my opponent, and that would be pretty fantastic. So you might say slap on a muscle band, that does 170, that's enough, but actually we will want to slap on another tool in order to prevent the damage that Thundurus does to itself, and the tool of the choice will be Protection Cube. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon card. This card is attached to by attacks that it uses. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory. By attaching the Protection Cube, we prevent the 50 damage to itself, but that means we need to try and find another way to do 20 or 30 more damage during our turn to get the one-hit knockouts. And we will do that by combining Thundurus-EX, 4 copies of the Thundurus-EX, with a Bats line, 4-3-2 line of Zubat, Golbat and Crobat. And with these sneaky bites, which allow us to put 20 damage on one of our opponent's Pokemon, or 2 damage counters actually, or with these surprise bites, which does 30 damage or allows us to put 3 damage counters on one of our opponent's Pokemon. And that is enough to get up to 170 or 180 damage during our turn, and that is enough for the one-hit KO. Now also notice that Thundurus-EX is fighting weak, so if we are facing a fighting deck, we will probably want to attack with the Bats line instead of the Thundurus line, and there is a very nice synergy going on between the Bats and the Thundurus-EX, because the Bats are psychic type and fighting types are often psychic weak, so there's that, as well as the fact that the Bats here have fighting resistance, meaning that it's not as easy for my opponent to knock out these Bats as it would be to knock out the Thundurus-EX. And that's it for the Pokemon line. Of course, there are 2 Shaymin for setup, for allowing us to draw through our deck a little bit easier, and the other draw support in this deck is 2 copies of the Birch, 2 copies of Sycamore, and then 1 copy of AZ, which can be regarded as draw support because we could pick up Shaymin, but the main use actually for the AZ will be to pick up the Bats line, so we can put down the Golbat and the Crobat once more, as well as these Super Scoop Ups, 3 copies of the Super Scoop Up to pick up our Bats as well, and potentially of course the Shaymin. Now we also, I already talked about energy acceleration, or maybe I didn't. I probably didn't yet, but we will want to energy accelerate onto the Thundurus-EX because it does have a hefty energy cost of 3 attachments. So if we could somehow speed this up, that would be pretty nice. And in order to do that, we run 4 Max Elixirs in combination with 12 lightning energies. That means we should be able to hit those Max Elixirs pretty frequently. And if we hit a Max Elixir onto a Thundurus on the bench and then attach a single lightning energy, then we already have 2 energies attached, and that way we can power up the Voltage Rush in 2 turns and potentially 1 turn if we hit 2 Max Elixirs. And that's basically it. The other cards in this deck are 2 Escape Ropes, because our Thundurus-EX does have a hefty retreat cost, and if we start off with the Thundurus-EX, we might actually want to put it onto our bench to be able to use the Max Elixirs, so we might want to switch into a Zubat and put that in the active spot. Then 3 Trainers Mail for consistency, 4 Ultra Balls for getting out our Pokemon, 3 VS Seekers to dig for our supporters in the discard pile, 1 Lysandre here for Lysandering out the big EX Pokemon on my opponent's bench, because we can one-hit KO them with the Thundurus-EX. So if we can do that, why not attempt it, right? 1 Skyla to search for a Protection Cube or possibly a Rough Seas, since the stadium of choice is a Rough Seas. This allows us to heal off our Thundurus-EX a little bit. For example, if we don't manage to get out a Protection Cube, we could use the Rough Seas and heal off the damage that way. And finally, 1 Startling Megaphone. This is mainly to deal with things like fighting Fury Belt or Focus Sash on fighting Pokemon, because the Focus Sash would not allow us to one-hit KO a Lucario EX, for example. So if you can get rid of that Focus Sash, that would be fantastic. And that's it for the deck analysis. So we will go and find ourselves an opponent right now. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to my channel for more silly decks, for more competitive decks, and for more fun decks like this. I will see you in the battles. Here we go. We are facing, let's see, Andrea Lotus with a water fighting colorless and a dark deck. That's a pretty interesting combination right there. I don't really know from the top of my head what it could be that my opponent is playing. Mainly the darkness has, yeah, I wonder what the darkness typing is. Probably Yveltal, something like that. But I don't see how it would be combined with water and fighting. Maybe Yveltal Gallade with a auxiliary for draw support, maybe something like that. But we will see soon enough. We did start off Mulligan, and here we go. That's a little bit better. We have the Zubat. We will start off with the Zubat. We'll put the Thundurus on the bench so that we can Max Elixir onto the Thundurus, potentially with a Max Elixir from this Trainer's Mail. And my opponent starts off with a Shaymin, so that's going to be the colorless typing in my opponent's deck. A Shaymin in the active spot, which is lightning weak, so actually we could potentially knock it out with a headlock if we flip heads. That's pretty funny if that would happen. We might be able to do that next turn, or in our second turn here, because we are going second. In our first turn going second, that's what I mean. If we can hit a Max Elixir and top deck a Max Elixir, then we can power up the headlock, and then if we can scoop up the bat, we could go for the knockout that way. That's definitely a possibility, but I think that's not what is going to happen. I'm expecting to see possibly a Floatstone on the Shaymin. My opponent is discarding a ton of cards here. My gosh. Definitely a darkness or a dark based deck, because we see the darkness energies. So I am expecting to see Yveltal, which is also lightning weak. So this matchup might be favorable for us. I'm not sure. There is the Gallade as well, so yeah, indeed, Gallade, Yveltal, that's what it's going to be. And then the water typing, I'm going to go ahead and guess that it's yeah, that it's auxiliary. And there's the Fighting Fury Belt, so we can't knock it out anymore in one turn. And Shaymin, it's going to get Sky Returned anyways, and that Sky Return won't knock out our Zubats, because it's doing right now, it's doing 30 plus 10 from the Fighting Fury Belt, which is 40. And there is a baby Yveltal. We will take a look at the Trainer's Mail, and here is the Max Elixir. We did hit it. Fantastic. We will Max Elixir onto the Thundurus. We hit 1 energy. Excellent stuff. And then I think I will oh gosh, this is a tough one. I think I'll hit the Scoop Up actually. I will put the Thundurus in the active spot for now. And then we'll go with the Sycamore. We'll have to discard the Crobat, unfortunately. And there's another Thundurus. And here is our Startling Megaphone, so I think I'll go for the knockout here. I will try. We need to flip heads to get the knockout. That's what we need to do. Can we do it? That's the question. Can we get a knockout? And yes! Early knockout. Look at that. Wow, that's actually... I am, my mouth is wide open. I am so amazed that that actually worked. Next turn we can knock out that baby Yveltal, no problem whatsoever. We have another energy to attach to the Thundurus-EX, unless My opponent Lysandre's out this Thundurus, but then we can dig for a Escape Rope with the Ultra Ball, get a Shaymin, or potentially use a Sycamore with the VS Seeker. My opponent discards a Zoroark. We might see a Maxi this turn, Maxi's hidden ball trick, because my opponent is left with 1 card in his hand. Goes for a Shaymin, maybe not then. Shaymin for 5 cards. We could definitely Lysandre out that Shaymin at some point as well, because it's a very, very easy prize. But if we see an Yveltal, I think I will Lysandre out the Yveltal instead. I think my opponent is trying to dig for the Yveltal. If I were my opponent, I would for sure be digging for it. And there's a Zoroark. We also already saw 1 Zoroark in the discard pile, so my opponent probably only has 1 left. And a Floatstone onto the Yveltal, baby Yveltal. I am not sure why my opponent would put it on the baby Yveltal, because I think he will attack with it and we will knock it out. No problem. We are doing 300 damage to it. 150 times 2 because of the weakness here. So, unless my opponent retreats into the other Yveltal on the bench, but I don't see why he would do that. What's the point in that? If I were my opponent, I'd have put the Floatstone on the Zoroark. That's what usually happens, because the Zoroark has the stand-in ability. Let's take a look at it. There it is. If you want to read it, just pause the screen. You can read the stand-in ability. And yeah, my opponent is down to 17 cards. Are you kidding me? Oh, a Toadiex. Is he going to try and attack with the Toad here? Well, he cannot, because he already attached an energy, but he could definitely at some point. But still, if we can get a Crobat out, we can one-hit KO the Toad. So maybe we won't see an Yveltal EX. There is the Toads. We do get the Crobat. Unfortunately, that's not enough to knock it out. Huh. Well, let's see here. Let's evolve, why not? Put 20 on the Toad. And then let's Max Elixir. Start powering up another Thundurus-EX. And I think I will attach another energy to the Thundurus on the bench. There's no point going with the Voltage Rush right now. We might as well try to paralyze our opponent. I think that's a pretty good idea. So we'll go with the Sycamore here. I will discard the Stadium. I don't want to put down the Stadium yet. And then we'll get another Zubat going. And then we'll go with the Sycamore. If we put down the Stadium, my opponent could get rid of that 20 damage there. So, oh, and here's a Protection Cube. I'll keep it in my hand for now. Oh no, I won't actually, because the Toad is probably going to item lock us in the next turn. Might as well use this Elixir. There we go. Maximum use of the Elixir. 2 Thundurus are ready to go. We will hit for the headlock. And yes, paralysis. That means my opponent cannot retreat the Toad unless he gets out a Zoroark with the stand-in, which might very well happen. But hey, we can knock that out in one go as well. And our Thundurus-EX is not in knockout danger whatsoever at the moment. I think we are definitely in the advantage right now, but we have to be wary. We cannot take it for granted that we will win at the moment. Lots of things can happen. We need to stay on our tiptoes. There is the DCE, so will we see the Zoroark come out? I think my opponent is planning on digging for the Zoroark. Maybe he has it in his hands, although that would be pretty lucky. There's a VS Seeker for... yeah, what could my opponent VS Seeker for? Zero Seek? To get rid of that Protection Cube? I guess that's a possibility. Maybe a Sycamore, but that would bring him down to 8 cards, and he hasn't taken a prize yet. Or maybe a Hex Maniac even, to prevent the bats damage. And I missed out now because I was looking through his... oh, Sycamore indeed. Wow. Wow. discards a Lysandre, a Max Elixir Ball Trick. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was the wisest choice to go for the Sycamore. Here is the Zoroark probably with the Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball for the Zoroark. That's what I'm expecting. Maybe an Yveltal EX could be a possibility as well. But I am pretty confident that whatever my opponent promotes, we will knock it out in one hit. Another Zoroark, so he does not have the Zoroark in deck. That's what I'm thinking. It must be prized. The second Zoroark must be prized, or must still be in his deck. Did not draw into it, which would have been pretty unfortunate. But I guess this will be the knockout here then. I don't see my opponent retreating the Toad at the moment. And yes, there it is. My opponent concedes the match. So very convincing game here. Oh my gosh, look at that. We had 2 Thundurus powered up. We had our bats going. Yeah, that's against Yveltal. This deck can do pretty good because of the lightning weakness, that's for sure. We will find ourselves another opponent. Our final opponent is arriving, and it is Shiniraki with a Psychic and a Fire deck. Again, a combination that I'm not sure what to expect from Fire and Psychic. Maybe the Psychic is Hoopa and the Fire are Fire Pokemon EX, like Emboar EX or Charizard EX. Maybe something like that. Otherwise, I am pretty clueless. And no basics in our hands. And here, let's take a look. Oh, Houndoom. Yeah, so this is definitely Hoopa together with a Fire Pokemon EX, and in this case it is Houndoom. And look at that, again we start off with a Zubat and a Thundurus-EX. I don't think I've ever seen that happen so many times in a row. The chances of that happening probably pretty small. I wonder, maybe I should try and calculate them. It's really interesting to calculate probabilities of things happening in a game like a TCG, a card game. I will put the Thundurus on our bench as we have done so before. We'll probably have to discard the Crobat with the Sycamore. So that's unfortunate again, because we can't get it back. We don't run any cards to get back Pokemon from our discard pile. Once they are in our discard pile, they are to stay there forever until the end of time. And my opponent puts down a stadium, but that's it. Oh my gosh, we failed the Max Elixir. That's the first here. No energies in the top 6 cards of our deck. Now let's counter that stadium. And then let's draw into 3 cards. Maximum amount of cards that we can draw into. So it's going to be Houndoom Bats versus Thundurus Bats. And we do top deck an energy, or draw into an energy. Then we'll discard the VS Seeker, the Birch, and see if we can draw into something else. A ton of energies, my gosh. Oh, the Trainers Mail fails us. Lots of failures here. I'll probably end my turn here. Yeah, I'll end my turn here. And the next turn we'll probably go for another Shaymin if it is in our deck. I'll have to look with the Ultra Ball. My opponent decides to put 20 damage on the Zubat on the bench. He really needs to get down a Houndoom EX for sure here. That's what my opponent needs to do. Goes for the Birch. Hopefully hopefully it's tails. I'm wishing bad luck upon my opponents, and it's heads. So my wishes were not granted. Another bat. Do we see maybe a Houndoom now? It counters the stadium. That's okay. Yeah, if my opponent cannot get a Houndoom down. Okay, so here. Oh, that's an Entei. That's not a Houndoom. Starts powering up the Entei with a burning energy. So pretty bad luck for my opponent there. We'll attach this. We'll discard one Thundurus and an energy. We'll go for a Shaymin. Let's see if what that brings us, what kind of luck. For now, I will use the Escape Rope. Force my opponent to switch out the Pokemon on the bench. Maybe the Entei. We'll switch into the Zubat. I'm guessing we'll be able to draw into a Golbat to evolve the Zubat here. My opponent promotes the Zubat instead of the Entei. So we shall put down the Shaymin. We shall draw into 4 cards. And see. Okay, we get an Elixir. At least that's something, and we do hit the Elixir. Then I will go with the Scoop Up. It is heads. We'll scoop up the bats. Put down this one. We will go for the knockout on the Entei, which is the biggest threat at the moment. My opponent could knock out a Zubat the turn after that, but that's okay. We'll go for the Entei, because if my opponent puts down a Crobat and a Golbat, that would be sufficient. We will hit for the Voltage Rush, taking the first prize of the game, hitting ourselves for 50. What we really need now is not an energy, but draw support. That's what we really need. Our Shaymin's kind of failed us there. Maybe I should have scooped up a Shaymin. I'm not sure. I want to put some pressure on my opponent, because he doesn't have anything ready to attack with. And we do. Our Thundurus is for sure ready here. Discards, let's see here. Another burning energy. That's 2 burning energies in a discard pile. There is the Houndoom EX, which can go for a Melting Horn. And there is the Crobat, going to put 30 somewhere. Puts it on the Zubat, so I think my opponent will go for the knockout on the Zubat. If he does have a Golbat in hand. If he does not have it, then that's fine. And here we will get hit for a Melting Horn. We could knock out the Houndoom if we top deck a Golbat, and we do. Look at that. Yeah, because the Houndoom has 170 hit points, so we'll go for the knockout on the Houndoom. And I will even attach to the Golbat here. Get it ready to attack. We need to be careful. We are going to be down to 70 hit points. So we definitely need to watch out for that. At least we take 2 prizes here. And we get another Max Elixir. What we really need now is another Thundurus-EX that we can start powering up. We have a Crobat for the turn after that, which we can put on to the Zubat. This Golbat will get knocked out. Or we can put it on a Houndoom if my opponent puts down another Houndoom. So this is kind of a mirror match. The strategy for my opponent is the same as our strategy. Our opponent wants to go for the one-hit KOs with the Inferno Fang here. You may discard all fire energy attached to this Pokemon. If you do, this attack does 80 more. That's what my opponent's strategy is. Combined with the bats, that's enough to knock out EXs in one shot. So I'm pretty sure my opponent will keep the Houndoom on the bench now. I don't think he'll make the mistake of putting it in the active spot. But we will for sure put some bats damage onto it. And 20 on the Thundurus-EX. My opponent could actually Blacksmith for the Grand Flame onto the Houndoom. That could actually happen, and then we could get one, or we could get knocked out, but it doesn't happen. We don't see a Blacksmith onto the Houndoom. Our opponent knocks out the, or tries to knock out the Golbat. He's going to go for the knockout there. We do have the Crobat, so we will go with that onto the Houndoom. Then we'll put down a Zubat. And take a look here. Yeah, we don't have any draw support, which is really unfortunate. Should I knock myself out? That's the question here. I think I'll go for the headlock. I'm not going to knock myself out. That would be a little bit too easy for my opponent. It is tail, so we will paralyze the Crobat, which is what I was hoping for. That means my opponent cannot retreat the Crobat into the Houndoom EX unless he gets a switch or an escape rope or something like that. Now my opponent starts to put damage onto the Shaymin-EX, so he's putting damage all over the place here. That can become scary pretty quickly. We definitely need some draw support right now. Maybe a VS Seeker. If we can get a VS Seeker, we could Lysandre out the Houndoom and bring ourselves down to 1 prize. I would feel pretty safe then. I would actually don't mind knocking out the... I wouldn't mind knocking out the Thundurus-EX with a Voltage Rush. If we could get a Lysandre going on the Houndoom on the bench. And there, I think my opponent failed the Trainer's Mail. I think he did. Goes for a VS Seeker. Is going to go for a Sycamore. That's my bet. There's already 2 VS Seekers in the discard pile, so that's the 3rd one. That means my opponent only has 1 VS Seeker left to use Lysandres, like the one in his discard pile there. Unless he runs 2 Lysandres. And there's another Entei. Do we see a switch or a Escape Rope? We won't see a Blacksmith. My opponent already used a supporter. Oh, and here comes the Mega Houndoom EX. So now we cannot knock it out in 1 turn. We need at least 2 Golbats to deal with the Mega Houndoom EX. And here is a VS Seeker, but... oh my gosh, this... just a little too late at VS Seeker. Definitely a little too late. I'll go with the Birch. We need 2 Crobats for sure. That's what we really need. 2 Golbats. Oh, and we flip tails. We have a Protection Cube. Ah, man. Might as well counter the Stadium. Heal up. And I think I will actually retreat now into the Crobat and start sniping with the Crobat. Yeah, I want to keep these stunners ready so we could potentially attack at some point. I will start sniping here. I will put the Protection Cube on the Thundurus. I will go for a skill dive onto the Mega Houndoom. That way it is now ready to get 1-hit KO'd by the Thundurus. And we still have a Max Elixir in our deck to power up the Thundurus on our bench in 1 turn. And we should have plenty of energy left. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have been used. 3 in the discard pile, 2 on the active Pokemon. That means 7 are left. There is a Blacksmith onto something here. Onto the Entei. Is my opponent going to go for the Combat Blaze, which would knock out the Crobat? I would be fine with that as long as we don't see a Lysandre. But we won't see it this turn again because my opponent used a Blacksmith, used a supporter for the turn. So what we will do is we will promote the Crobats, the Zubats. Too many bats here, I keep confusing them. We'll promote the Zubats. And hopefully we can get a Golbat maybe. Get a Trainer's Mail. There is a Max Elixir, excellent stuff here. I definitely want to get that Max Elixir. We hit the Max Elixir, getting our Thundurus ready once again while we heal it up slowly but surely. Let's take a look. How many VS Seekers have we used? 2 VS Seekers. I will have to go with the Sycamore. I need some bats. I need some more Thundurus. We don't get another Thundurus. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Let's take a look. I'm going to attempt to knock out that Crobat on the bench. Might as well try and scoop up the bats. We'll promote this one, and I will evolve into the Golbat once again. And then that Crobat is nearly done for. We could go with an attack here. But I want to keep our Thundurus fresh and ready to go. Well, what do we do here? That's the question. I think I will retreat into the Zubats right now. Yeah, because then if we get a Golbat next turn, we could knock out the Crobat, and then all we need to do is knock out that Mega Houndoom EX. Unfortunately, we are having pretty bad draws here. Those draws are not doing us any favors. And unfortunately, we could not get another Thundurus-EX. That's been a bit of a problem as well. But 2 are in our discard pile, so I guess the last one is either prized or in the 14 cards that are still in our deck. We can counter the stadium once again, because my opponent countered it. I think my opponent runs 4, and here is the Lysandre on the Thundurus. That's what I was afraid for that Lysandre. But my opponent doesn't knock it out. Are you kidding me? My opponent doesn't knock it out. I am not sure why my opponent didn't retreat into the Mega Houndoom there. We will heal up. We will try and scoop up the Thundurus actually. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to scoop up the Thundurus. Promote the bats. And then we'll start powering it up once again. And I will go for the Zubats. Oh no! Oh, what did I do there? Oh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go for the Shaymin. I said Zubat in my head and I picked up the damn Zubat. Are you kidding me? I wanted to go for the Shaymin. My gosh, that's terrible. Yeah, I'm going to have to retreat here into the Zubats. Give my opponent a free KO. Yeah, so my opponent did run 2 Lysandres. Can still get another Lysandre because he still has another VS Seeker in his deck somewhere. Unless he only runs 3 like we do. I think we used all of our VS Seekers actually, yeah. And counters the stadium once again with a Silent Lab. There is the Combat Blaze for the knockouts on the Zubat. We really need some draw support here. Do we actually have any draw support left? We have 1 Birch left. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do here. I'm going to attempt to... Let's see here. Let's first use the Escape Rope maybe. And see what our opponent promotes. Or should we not do that? I don't think I will do that. I will retreat and I will go for the headlock. Hopefully I can paralyze this Entei. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Next turn we can knock it out with a Voltage Rush, and we are in no danger of getting knocked out, getting 1-hit KO'd by the Mega Houndoom EX. Does 80 plus 80 more. Oh, now we are. That's Zubat. What a play from my opponent. Gets another Zubat down. That's really threatening to us. And we don't have anything to respond here. Because I said I was waiting for a Crobat, but I just noticed that both Crobats from the deck are in our discard pile, so we cannot get another Crobat to knock out the Crobat on the bench there. Oh man, yeah. Whoops, that's my battery. My battery is low. I'm going to have to take a gamble here and say that my opponent cannot get down another Golbat. Although he probably does still have 1 left, because none are in the discard pile. Yeah, I'm going to have to go for the knockout here. Take 1 prize. Hopefully we can get a Thundurus. We get an Ultra Ball. We can get a Thundurus with the Ultra Ball. Oh, my opponent does not promote the Mega Houndoom EX. So must not have a Golbat then. I was expecting to see the Mega Houndoom EX be promoted. But I'm guessing, yeah, it must be prized or something. So we get hit for 30. We need to find some way to heal off that damage. Stupid 30 damage and our stadium is in a discard pile. We cannot get to our Lysandre either. For sure going to get another Thundurus with these Ultra Balls. There it is. There's some more bats as well. If only we could have gotten that Zubat. So at some point we could have gotten that Golbat and then we could have gone for a swoop across, knocking out this Crobat. Unfortunately that's not the case. What do we do here? Let's count our energies. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 energies. 4 in play. So that means there's 4 left. Do I want to let my opponent attack with this Crobat? We are for sure going to get knocked out by the Mega Houndoom EX if we knock out this Crobat. So I'm going to actually retreat here into the Golbat on the bench with the Escape Rope. Force my opponent to put something else in the active spot. If he puts the Mega Houndoom EX in the active spot, then it's GG. He does not. He promotes the Crobat on the bench. So we'll promote the Golbat and we will end our turn. I'm waiting for one more energy to put on this Thundurus-EX. Then we have a backup attacker at least. Then I would feel safe to attack with the Thundurus-EX. We have the free retreat to do so. So I'm just waiting for an energy here. If we get the energy, I will promote this Thundurus and go for a knockout. There is a Golbat going to put 20 where? Probably on this Thundurus-EX. Oh, it does not. My opponent's still trying to go for that knockout on the Shaymin. How is he going to accomplish that? Maybe with the skill dive there? Yeah, because another Crobat, yeah, that would do it. Skill dive and then a Crobat. That would for sure do it. Hopefully we can pick up that Shaymin at some point. That was a very bad top deck we just got there. No, all of our scoop ups are used. We are basically out of resources. That's the problem here. We are out of resources. Yeah, I have to go for the knockout. I cannot wait any longer. That Shaymin is going to go down if I let my opponent do that. So we'll go for the Voltage Rush. Good for 300 damage. Just because we can. And we'll get something from the prizes. It is a Trainers Mail. Do we have another Max Elixir? We have used 1, 2, 3. That means we have one more left. Either that one is prized or it is in our deck. If it is in our deck, we can use it to power up this Thundurus-EX. And then if we can top deck an energy as well, then we can power it up in one turn and we can go for the knockout that way. Our opponent still does not promote the Mega Houndoom EX. I think he really needs to do that right now, or he's going to go for the knockout on a Shaymin. Either way, if he does not promote the Mega Houndoom EX to knock out our Thundurus, then we have the game. We can knock out anything on the board in one hit. And starts powering up another Houndoom EX. And there it is. My opponent knows it. He's going to go for the knockout, bring my opponent down to 2 prizes. All he needs to do is knock out that Shaymin then. So this is actually a very close game. Just because we got stuck there with the top decks, we ran out of resources. I'm going to promote the Golbat. That's the only thing we can do. And there is the Max Elixir. We top deck the Max Elixir. I ideally wanted to top deck an energy and get the Max Elixir from the Trainers Mail. We do get a Birch. We have to go with the Birch here. We have to draw into an energy. If we can get an energy, then it is game. It's tails. Do we get an energy? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We do get the energies. Oh, this was so close. This was so close. We'll go for the Voltage Rush, taking the game, but just barely here. In a bit of a mirror match. Wow, it became very tense there at the end. Very tense. We just ran out of resources. So maybe I should actually change it to 4 VS Seekers instead of 3. Because right now I'm running 3 and I pretty much missed the 4th one big time here in this game. If we had the 4th one, we could have probably draw into it and get some support from our discard pile. But hey, we still pulled it off with 1210 damage versus 690. I think that's pretty impressive. Biggest attack 359 cards drawn versus 63. Tails flipped 5 versus 3 heads, so not as lucky this game on the flips. Well, I guess you could actually say we are lucky because the tails helped us out with the paralysis. So in that way we were lucky. But that's going to be it for today's episode. We will end on this exciting note, on this exciting match. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel for more competitive, silly and fun decks. I hope you have a truly Karptastic day, and I will be seeing you next time.
Karp, 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 Karp.